Hey, what's up? It's your boy BobbySapphire. I just got back from the Galactic Championship in Las Vegas. I had an absolutely insane time. I got sweet mats, so many sweet mats, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today, I'm going to show you the 5 insane decks from the Galactic Championships that I saw all weekend. Let's check it out. All right, our first deck isn't necessarily insane in the, oh my god, what is this deck? But in the, oh my god, this deck won the Galactic Championship. I have to shout out Betton, who took down the entire event. I got a chance to talk with him before the event because I was a huge Talzin fan leading up to the event, but I couldn't beat Kylo ECL. And I said, Betton, Zip, how did you guys do it? And they said, we couldn't. So we just built a deck that beat everything else. Some of the insane tech they have in here is Armed to the Teeth, Purge Trooper, which is really cool, and then they go all aggro with the Sun, which I think is a really good strategy against some of the decks that are looking to get a longer game out of Talzin. I love the main deck, Hero Kiadi Mundis. That's something that my team had been doing. Shout out to my erstwhile teammate Blake for forcing me to do that in my list, but I really love this list, and for the most part it's standard Talzin, but that Purge Trooper, the Arm to the Teeth, giving the deck a little bit of smuggle because the deck can struggle when it gets its hand discarded. It even has Hot Shot Blaster in there, paying 5 for that from the row, but you can also just play it for 1, which is great. And again, the Sun and the Devastator main deck giving this a little reach, and also giving you absolute bombs to force throw. 8, a really important force throw number when you force throw yourself, because you can kill Cad Bane with it, you can kill Quinlan with it, like opposing Talzins with it, obviously all the Han Solos you can do. And then one thing that you'll see in the sideboard of a lot of these blue-red decks is Champs and Dula. It's a way for a red deck to kind of get ahead or like keep up with decks that ramp against it. So shout out to Betton. This deck is crazy, and you have no shortage of games to go watch them play from the stream on FFG Live. Check it out. Okay, now we're getting into insane decks. My teammate, Stevie, played against this deck round 1 of day 2, and he was like, what the hell is this meta? I just played against a Han 4 Tarkintown deck. Little did we know that Matt Norton would go the distance and make the top 8 with this deck. Look, I've said it several times on the podcast. Han Solo with C-3PO is one of the most broken mechanics that you can have in this game, and Matt found a way to weaponize that auto draw from C-3PO and Han's combo to play a really aggressive space deck with just a little bit of tech, just jam communications, swoop down to sort of take out problematic issues. Jam communications obviously taking cards out of opponent's hand. Swoop down dealing with units on the board that could otherwise become super problematic. Really strong card right now in swoop down. We're going to see that a lot of the successful Vader 4 players that did well at this event also played swoop down. You've got Daring Raid for a little bit more reach. This is a space aggro deck. So far, we've seen Sabine Yellow, Kaz Yellow, Poe ECL, and Vader Yellow be the aggro space decks that have really sort of seen success. But now, simply because Matt did so well at this event with this deck, this is going to skyrocket this deck's presence in the meta as the premier hero space deck, especially since it has that broken card draw in C-3PO. And it still does all of the things you want out of a space deck. Boshek and Never Tell Me the Odds, allowing Han Solo's odd ability to trigger, get extra value out of it. Han Solo flipping, getting more resources to spend. This deck is crazy. This is the number 1 deck that I'm going to test out. I've got a PQ in 2 weeks in New Hampshire, double midnight. Check me out there. It's a Sunday. And I am hyped to give this deck a shot because I love that combo, and I love Han Solo has his moments, and the Millennium Falcon, best ship in the game. Love it. All right. Nice job, Matt. Okay, this deck didn't really show up day 2, but I get to meet Ducky through my friend Alex. who went 6-0 on day one with this insane deck. I was like really dying to do a TikTok or YouTube short with Ducky. After seeing this list, we just didn't hook up on it, but I still might try and interview him because he built an insane Yoda Data Vault Starhawk deck, basically using You're My Only Hope to cheat out Starhawk, and once the Starhawk sticks, like you win. Everything you have costs half. So if you blindside your opponent with it, with You're My Only Hope, you're just going to be able to do things like play Kylo Ren back for 3 or whatever next turn, and things are going to get completely out of hand. I'm not quite sure why he only ran 2 Starhawk, because that seemed to be the major thing, but obviously you do have to win the game in other means. So having a really robust early game, you'll see he had like 3 Battlefield Marine, 3 Loth Wolves, 3 Village Protectors, things that would get him to the late game. Things that also need to die on the board, which would trigger Yoda, which would allow him to put the Starhawk on top. And then, of course, you don't just have to put the Starhawk on top. You can win simply by playing an early Luke, playing an early Rex, lead by example, I guess, Keller and Beck. Arcanon's Assault Cruiser, dominating space, helping you ramp. So there's a lot of cool cards in here. I am excited to work on this list as well, because I think that there are some tweaks to make. I also want to see how it feels to play, because, for example, 3 takedown, 3 vanquish, usually not the way I want to try and control the board, because they're just so expensive. With Yoda, I want to try and do it a little bit more with units and not with events. So I think this deck is absolutely cracked. I've been dying for someone to crack a Starhawk deck, and this is it. So shout out to Ducky with this insane list that went undefeated on day one. Great job, man. Okay, and shout out to 5s501st, who got top 50. I think he got 49th place at the World Championship with pre-Vizsla control. This was actually on, I don't know if it was on stream, but it was on stage a couple times. I was at the event, so I don't know all the games that were streamed, but Pre-Vizsla is a deck that like keeps kind of popping up here and there as someone who, because of the card draw Pre-Vizsla, can do something that a lot of control decks struggle with, which is like get extra cards in your hand. And then, of course, with cards like Mission Briefing and Merciless Contest, that like getting cards in the hand becomes a priority for Pre-Vizsla. So as many cards as you can have in your hand makes the deck stronger. So obviously like things like Dr. Pershing. This deck is like sort of your typical blue-red control, like villain control deck, but because of the strength of Pre-Vizsla with cards in hand, it sort of like has some reach that the other control decks like an Iden or a Kira sort of lack. And this almost reminds me more of the way like a Vader control, blue-red control deck will play from set 1, which is like bring a leader that actually kind of does take over the game on its own, as opposed to some of the other control leaders who don't really do a lot in terms of like closing the game out, because you see that there's so few units here. 1 Anakin, 1 Bazine, which doesn't even count as a unit. Same with Dr. Pershing. Bounty Hunter Crew barely counts as a unit. Annihilator and Avenger, those are insane units. But to only have 1 of each, I got to imagine that this is mostly winning by milling, but with the 3 vigilances in play, and with Mission Briefing, I always like Mission Briefing in a mill deck, because when they're out of cards, you can target them with Mission Briefing to burn them out. So this deck is really cool, and because I think the games were on stream, I am like really excited to go check out more of this deck. But when I heard a Pre-Vizsla deck did really, really well at the event, I had to have it in the top 5, especially since it finished in that top 64. All right, and finally, our 5th insane deck. This one was kind of the talk of the tournament. This is Ian Klein, Lego Pizza's runner-up Kylo We're Not Done Yet Tarkintown. So Kylo 5 Tarkintown deck. This is a deck that the Bothan Network came up with and worked on, and a bunch of those guys did really well at the event. They had 2 in the top 8. I think they had several more within the top 64, and a bunch of them made day 3. So shout out to them. They did an amazing job. This is a deck that they were able to keep under wraps for most of the advent of the set. And it first came onto my radar in day 1. I played against a guy named Danny who had a it wasn't this version. It was a very aggressive version that played all 2-drops, Krennic, Reckless Gunslinger, and aggroed out, and then we just finish off with Kylo. This Bothan Network version, it does have a little bit of that, but it also just sort of aims to get card advantage. They stick either stick a Migs or a Witch of the Mist, and Migs will... so the way this works is like you play Migs Mayfield, you use Kylo to discard a card that triggers Migs, you ping their unit, and then you Tarkintown it. Or they can do Witch of the Mist and Force Throw, which is, I think it's like a 10% for them to have both in the open hand. So you play your 1-drop, Force Throw them, get a card out of their hand, ping Tarkintown their first guy. Now they're behind both on board and on hand, and that will turn on things like the main deck Pillage will be online because your opponent is trying to catch up with the board by using more cards from their hand. Then, because they're playing, the Bothans are doing like a little bit more of a card advantage engine, and that allows the Kylo flip to be really strong. You can see they have 19 upgrades. I know when we think about Kylo 5, we think about like what's the ideal number of upgrades. These guys are never missing an upgrade discard, and all of their upgrades are really cheap, except for the lightsabers. And because most of their units are Force units, they'll just slam an early constructed and an early fallen on something like a Witch of the Mist, or even just like a Karis, Secretive Sage. That makes it really hard for them to deal with that unit. So sometimes it could take even 2, maybe even 3 cards for you to just not get completely steamrolled by that card early in the game, which leans more into that card advantage engine, the board card advantage combo. And then what that does is it opens up the reach that you have. You have like automatic reach in Kylo Ren, who with Infiltrator skill and Snapshot reflexes can at least on the flip turn just do 7 to base. So if you just get them within 7 health, Kylo can basically auto win. But it doesn't stop there, because Sith Holocron, this was really a coming out party for Sith Holocron. By having these big booty units on the board, or shielded units on the board with like Long Pike, you can trigger the Sith Holocron to do even more damage. So instead of just a 1/1 for 1 +1/+1 for 1 resource upgrade in the Sith Holocron, you get to ping something else and actually do 3 damage, which gives this deck even more reach. So when you flip Kylo, you're looking to do Sith Holocron, Infiltrator skills, Snapshot reflexes, so you attack right away. You don't give your opponent any opportunity to respond. And then any others that you can afford or want to afford for that turn is just icing on the cake. And then the other thing they do, which is we've all been trying to do since set 1, which is play Admiral Mahdi to have an insane trigger. So they get Admiral Mahdi on the board, they flip Kylo, they Sith Holocron, they ping Mahdi to get the +2/+0, and then they get to ready and attack for a second time with Kylo. Absolutely insane. Great deck by them. This deck is easily hated out by aggrieved parliamentarian, which I expect to be in every sideboard from here on out. Check out Underwhelming Barrage by my teammates John Tata and Chrono to have more conversation about the spy ops of aggrieved parliamentarian over the last couple weeks. But there's no doubt about it. This was the deck of the tournament. Great job by these guys, and also really fun deck. My brother Matty played this at the Open. He scrambled to put the deck together, and he went 6-3, but he did it without Force Throws in the deck because he forgot to put Force Throws. He put Force Chokes in there instead. So I really think Matty probably would have went undefeated if he just played Force Throws. I hear that's a good card. All right. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please check out these decks. If there's a deck that you think I should have featured, drop it in the comments, because people want to see these crazy decks from the Galactic Championships. We'll be back on Monday with a full recap of the event at the KTOD Radio Podcast. So thanks for watching. See you next time.